Talofa love everyone and welcome to Organic Talanoa. My name is Aogamalie Sione Sione and I'd like to welcome you to the podcast of Organic Talanoa. In this episode I'm joined by my good #421 rugby brother and rugby coach Mulitalo Filipo Levi, who is a well-known international rugby player as well as a public speaker and business mentor. We listened to Filipo and his journey of coming to the end of his career in rugby and not know what to do, and the difficulties of the transition from pro rugby player to everyday working life. Our discussion on his new book Tackle will take you through his experience, giving people inspiration and hope, and how trusting a process helped him achieve his goals. I hope you find something interesting and meaningful in this Organic Talanoa to support you in your journey in life.
This one's for you and you and you. And you and you and you. This one's for you and you and you.
Da 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 da.
Nice, bro. Filipo. Ko wha Mulitalo Filipo Levi. Also Coach Levi. So welcome to Organic Talanoa also. This year is just a pretty laid back chat. It's just like me and you just meet in the car park, or just like now, we haven't seen each other for ages. And yeah, good to catch up with you, bro.
No, also, that's awesome to be on this podcast, Sione. We'll go way back to the Marisi days.
Yes.
There's pain, sweat and tears. I still remember it like yesterday. But now we're here. We're here now.
Oh, nice, bro. Like, I guess it'd be probably just a bit of insight for any listeners who are listening in there, probably more around the Filipo, I'll call you start. I'll just go Filipo, he's Mulitalo. But with Filipo, East Auckland boy, and then schooling down in Otago, moving down there and playing a bit of footy down there for a bit. And I know a lot eventuated from there also. So, yeah, just give us a bit of a background on Filipo Levi.
Yeah, pretty much as most our parents came from the islands. We're starting with mum, dad. They came in the early 70s, and they came to fill up the shortage of workers in New Zealand at the time when they were struggling for workers. Yeah. It's quite funny because it's happening right now. We need workers, and so they came in that period. It was a boom period for Pacific Islanders. So eventually, that's where our journey, our kids, we were born and raised in here, and then. I was pretty much born in Huntly, in Hamilton. And so I said, well, why down there? And Mum said, well, Dad was working for the railways. Yeah. So Dad was, spent many years there, so 14 years in the railways. But he always had, education in the back of his head. But moved to Auckland in GI when I was probably 3 years old, and then lived in GI till I was about 10. And then that was my sort of, my younger years, and then 10, 11 years old, that's when we moved to Dunedin. So Dad had to go through St. John's Theological Hall to be accepted into University of Otago Theology School through Knox College. Yeah. So this is him in his 40s, and he's got 5 kids, and my mum's telling him, how are you going to feed the kids? So, so I'm the middle child. And so Dad just said, the God will provide. Yes. That's all he said. It's quite funny.
That to be the answer, bro.
Yeah. It's quite funny because 30 years later, when I finished rugby, Dad always turns to Mum and says, God will provide. So it's like, he's just being a bit cheeky. But I guess that's the faith through our parents and through the blessings I've had, and really grateful and being in quite a privileged position. It is a privileged position to go down there, having parents to sacrifice and work hard, and to give us children pathways to schools, education, and representing Otago and the Highlanders.
Yeah. Okay, I guess when we think about, so I know it's all documented, bro, your rugby career, and I guess it's up and coming, and some of the your book releases coming up. But it's for yourself coming through Otago, that environment there. I take it back then, maybe not so much PIs, like being you're probably a minority group in there. But like, how was that in terms of like, you would have been probably more surrounded around the Māoris, around the Pākehā people. So do you think you're disadvantaged at this stage, right?
Like when you're 10 years old, 11 years old, you don't really think of those things. It's like as your first thing I wanted to find was a rugby club. So I played for Tamaki Rugby under 9s or under 10s, and then going down there to find a club under 12 level.
Yeah.
It was just down the road from us. We lived in a hill called Opoho, just above the Knox Hall, and then walking down the hill and then walking back up. That was it's a bit of a journey, but those were really some memories. But I guess with most things you don't really notice it.
Yeah.
But when we tend to look around, I'm the only Samoan in the class. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, some teachers always got my name wrong, and I just sort of laughed, and you just say, yeah, just call me Phil. Call me Phil. But you're young, you just sort of laugh it off. But there was a group. There was quite a few families down there, Pacific families, Samoan families. Many came through the 50s and 60s, so they're already there. Yeah. And our families were there. The Courts family, that's from my mum's side, so we had family down there already. So they really had the foundations. We don't all the kids have been through school. So we had that background. And also there were Samoan churches down there, as most things. They always find a Samoan church. So we went to Dunedin PIC.
Pop up everywhere, these Samoan churches,
They
right?
just pop out.
In the middle of nowhere. I mean, I think you're telling me some stage down in King Country, your dad was based down there. I guess probably one thing I wanted to look at, just chat about, was around the, if we were looking into diverse communities, so obviously down there, like not so many islanders, but I guess how did that help you out with, in terms of being able to socialise with like all walks of life, or like all people from all over the place, I guess.
I think when I left here and left GI when I was 10, 11, so that was the beginning of 1991, and then we came up to Auckland around, I think it was about 95, 96, and then I was walking around GI. I haven't been back for 5 years. Doesn't mean I'm 15, 16 now. I'm a bit bigger now. And then I met some of the guys from church at Tamaki, and they said, hey, we start talking, chatting away down in the Port England Road, and they'll say, man, you sound different. You sound like a parangi. I said, what do you mean? So I'm unaware. I was just unconscious, but it was just normal me, just me speaking. So that was pretty much awareness of, okay, I sound a bit different. What's wrong with me? But I guess it's raised in Dunedin. You through some. I was a minority, but I didn't use that as an excuse to, feel sorry for myself. Like our parents came from Samoa with pretty much with their parents' blessings, with their families' blessings, and to come here to provide opportunities. So, in saying that, the period of change for my dad and my mum, they could say that they were comfortable in Samoa. Yeah. There was no such thing as poverty in Samoa. Land was there, fish is there, the village is there, there's coconuts there, there's ulu, breadfruit, mangoes, everything is there provided, so, but they saw something a bit different, so they wanted to come here, and I guess growing up in Dunedin in quite a monocultural, very Scottish background, and so that really gave me a sense of understanding but the community culture, and as most things in New Zealand, every community in New Zealand has a culture, regardless of ethnicity. You sort of merge into the culture. So I guess the Dunedin way, or the way of living in the South, was just being humble, just working, just being a good guy, being a good person, and treating everyone fairly and equally. By working hard, because you don't want to. For most things, Dunedin's a small town. So if you do something,
everyone knows.
Everyone knows. Everyone knows. Especially when some of the new islanders come down and they take the oversized power, and then next minute they're on the news. We say that is basics.
I'm there for the wrong reasons.
Well, they just probably don't know the limit. It's everywhere. Power's everywhere.
Massive thing on just seeing and hearing their culture, and I guess there's one part of being a player, rugby player, and also being a coach yourself. So probably one thing that we always stress about how we build real good culture with our groups, and it brings out those life skills that they have. With the how did you find going from playing? I guess playing from going there as a player to coaching, because both things, two different types of pressure.
That's a good question. Like most things, I think I don't want to get into coaching after I finished rugby. I pretty much took 2 years when I transitioned into working in South Auckland at Best Training through private training establishment. And I worked there for a year and a half, and I had nothing to do with rugby. I did coach some touch teams through Josephine Bartley. She wanted me to coach some kids in the Tamaki area, and my goodness, I haven't heard so much swearing in my life. I was going to give them the old done and ups, but this lot I had to, approach them a bit differently. So, always have, it's quite funny because I said, look, if you have less than 10 swear words today, I'll think about buying KFC. And then they're like, oh, wow, yeah. So they try really hard, eh? They try really hard to not swear. And that's just habits formed in their environment. So environment that creates their culture, and the culture creates those habits. And so they were not good habits. But to answer your question, so for me to go, and 2 years later, that's when Andrew Va'a was the junior manager for Malisi Marist brothers. And then he told me to come and coach. Because I did play for Marist in 2012 when we made the final against the grand final in the Gallagher Shield against Grammatic. Yeah. But we were playing that game.
Auckland, against Auckland,
it was quite a good game because a lot of those guys became All Blacks. Well, George Moala was playing for them, Jack Whitson. There's guys playing Hurricanes at the lock that's there. So they had a really and the flankers. They probably had half of them were future internationals. Yeah. So in our team, we're a couple, me and yourself. And then I took those years off. And coming to Marist was good because I can be able to provide something. And in those years, coaching, it was just different. I just had to take my player hat on, take it off. Hat on, I had to take it off. And for many players who rush into coaching, there's a lot of mistakes they can do. I've seen it, and I think it's not wrong. I think there's a process to go through. There's a process to leave rugby, and there's a process to come back in. So it's, you fly in and fly out again, and you come back into the game, but with a new set of eyes and a new set of and a new mindset of how you can coach. So the biggest thing was you're a coach now. You had to be careful what you say. How you question the players, get them involved.
Massive, yeah.
Rather than telling them to do things, you need to question them. So that was a learning curve for me to ask more questions and wait patiently for the answers.
It's good that you sort of picked that up pretty fast too and early, because it's when we look at it, it's always the same adage, like maybe we're coming through, is just harden up. Take some of those pills, but the reality is that, where some of them are quite sensitive, some of these kids coming through. So I guess like yourself, when you, and I'm starting to pick up how some of it you adapted pretty fast to it. Like, how did you find that, having to change your mentality on thinking on around approaching the kids, around coaching them? Yeah,
I think I try to bring a hard edge from the south. There's growing up in Dunedin, there's always a perception of Aucklanders they're talented, but they won't last the game. Yeah. There's been quite a bit of a stereotype, bit of a perception. In some ways, there's some truth behind it, because the most talented players are coached to be talented, to use their talents at a certain point of the game. But they're not taught how to work on that, to work hard by coaches in Auckland. And I've noticed that in Auckland, where they use just their power, use their speed, and they don't use their micro skills, like the passing game. And that was a huge, for me, was to open my window to how the Auckland boys have been coached up in Auckland. So it comes down to the coaching. Coaching is a big factor of how they play. Yeah, talent can take you so far, but they're saying, but only hard work can get you so far. So, and that's the mentality I try to install a lot of these guys, and it's really hard because you've got years of coaching the same way at school. So you've got years of ingrained habits. 10, 20,000 hours, 10,000, 20, 40,000 steps of doing the same. So how do you break that down and to get them to understand, with only 2 trainings in a week, down in Malisi, sometimes they can hear you, sometimes they just block their ears. So, but the old school way, you had to balance it. Yeah. You had to balance it with using phones now, Nowadays, they use the phones to give feedback. So the other night, was doing line-out drills, quick, and just a quick tempo, real fast line-out in their pods, and trying to get good shape. You know, the I shape versus the A.
Yep.
So the I shape is having the three bodies like an eye.
It's
like
all
straight.
coming out now. Yeah, go, coach.
And then and they was giving them pictures. You got to give them pictures and give them A. So this is from when Filo Tete was taking us through what Auckland did. And then I showed them. So guys, come around. There's about 20 of them all came around my little iPhone, and they want to have a look at what they were doing. And so I think that's part of that feedback, straight away feedback. You can give them straight feedback by visuals and then correcting them straight away rather than waiting a day later because they would have forgotten.
Yeah, it's when the info's gone, it's kind of hard to explain it again, eh? But probably good identifying from yourself, like, yeah, bro, that seems to be the way. Like, you film it and you show them.
Yeah.
And, you know, these kids, I mean, young bucks, they love seeing themselves on the screen. So anything to just sort of help them to understand and notice the things that could be changed.
It's funny you said that. I was at a training for highways. Highways do all the roadings around Auckland and New Zealand, actually, and in Australia. So they do all the foundations for roads and railways. And one guy was on the training, a young kid, and he was about 21, 22. He was from the Neki. He's probably listening to this. And he was showing me, he was telling me about his upbringing, and he's brought up a Neki, hard man. Yep, okay. So who do you play for? Okay. Oh, we in the squad, Taranaki. Yeah, I was on the cusp on making the Taranaki, squad, and I got injured, and I came to Auckland, and things happened. Oh, cool. Have you got any clips? So he showed, I got clips. And so he had this highlight reel. And I was thinking, this kid's only 21. He hasn't really played Super Rugby, or he had these clips of club rugby. So he's a prop. He's your position. He's tie head. He's tie head prop. And I looked at him, and all he showed was just him running and tackling. I said, bro, do you have any clips of scrums?
His main role.
And then I paused. He showed one. Okay. I bet, bro. I bet. And I asked him, bro, did you want to come to our club, Quad Rifles? No. No, but, that's the young people. They have highlights, reels. They can go to YouTube, TikTok, whatever, Facebook. That's just the way and you got to adapt to them.
Yeah.
And then critique them and question them. So, what about your scrums? Because all he wants to see is big hits, and big runs, big runs on the sideline, offloads. So hold up, let's bring back to what's your core role? Yeah, what's your core role? Sometimes
our players forget the actual core roles on it, but I was just picking a bit there that you sort of you're dabbling now. You're moving into public speaking, bro. So that'd be a new field for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, as we're growing up in Samoan churches, we're forced or incentivized to learn verses.
Well, the stick was the
not a stick. It was a jandal. Was right behind my ear. So and so this is a Tamaki PIC and GI and. So you learn the verses as a young kid from 5 years old to till you're still adult, you still do it, and then I guess that was the first time to speak in front of people, 300, 500, some Samoan churches 1,000, So as kids are really fearful because then it's not a natural thing to speak in front of people, and you can see all the moves they see all this one here, and that's quite a good stance. That power, it's like a power position. Like in speaking, we talk about having a stance, and also when you're doing Zooms or calls, people like grab onto things because it's a stabilizer.
Yeah.
So thinking back then, like all kids used to do this because that was pretty much a foundational, and then you have some who just did this one, or you had some just cried, all the time. And I remember the ones who cried all the time because the auntie was like, or their mum, not sure, and then. So years later at the high school and then club rugby, I was captain for my club team. We always lost every week.
No,
every week, pretty much 90% of the time. So, but that was a
have
period.
Fun though.
Yeah, I had fun. Yeah, because all I did was because I didn't really make any teams back then, and then I was wanting to prove a point after high school, and that's when the Highlanders were at a peak. They just lost to the Crusaders in the final. So a lot of the All Blacks and Super Rugby players were playing club rugby. So that was a good time for me to go out there and smash them. And then pretty much learning to speak in front of a crowd. That wasn't easy. I stuffed up many times. I'll really sort of just mumble and because you're losing and you're not in the right frame of mind. But you just put the basics in. Thank you for the ladies or people who are making the food. Thank you to them and cheers to the opposition. Bye. So, but that progressed over years. Yeah. So, and then years later, after captain for Samoa and did more there, and then I've always been inspired by motivational speakers. Tony Robbins, the Les Browns, even our own family. We have uncles, aunties who can just speak and wow. They just go on and go on. I said, wow, what's that metaphor? How do you translate it in English? So they use our people, our the orators, the orators, and it's fascinating listening to them because it's just the silver tongue. They're saying the silver tongue. Yeah. It just comes, just a lot of the proverbs, all that fascinating, all that's real detail. So going into the speaking world, it was pretty much had the same mindset. I wanted to be in the speaking corporate world because I didn't see any Samoans or any brown people out there. That was the only. Yeah. But I really had the plan in 2012 when I finished rugby. I wanted to be a speaker or work in education. So 6 years later, that's when I said, no, I'm going to go to do professional speaking. In 2017 was when I joined the Professional Speakers New Zealand. I went in there, no Samoans, no brown faces. I didn't care. I want to go there to learn from some of the best. And then going from there, learning the structure, learning the frameworks, learning the business side of professional speaking. And I thought, okay, this is me. This is me. I'm gonna throw everything in. I'm gonna throw the towel, leave my nine to 5 job because I was working at the school then. Yeah. And then see how I go. And when I did that, my mum said, "Are you stupid?"
Well, yeah, it's not your norm, mate. It's not normal for a PR to be doing this.
Yeah. I think there's just parents are fearful. Yeah. They want you to be. They've provided the opportunities, but then I think back, Mum, you gave up your life to come here. Well, what's the risk of me just doing this business side, this business thing? It's such a massive gap for what they did to what I'm doing now. It's such a so I put it into perspective. Say no, I've got a vision. I can see myself going forward. And a few years later, I'm still here, still punching and kicking and rocking and smiling. And like my mum said, "Ata mate." See, he's a smiling way through this pandemic and the storms. And yeah.
Importance of the having those little goals and the planning, and it's probably cool. Like you sort of already picked out either it was education or you wanted to be a speaker. And I guess when I look at it and you think about the speaking, do you think you're probably just natural at it?
No, I don't think anything natural. I mean, my granddad, my father's father, Lavere Levi, he was an orator for Mulitalo. So because he was from Safoku, he was the main orator from that side of Savai'i. So Lavere Levi, he was well known on 2AP, which was the radio station back in Samoa in the 50s, 60s. Yeah, so he was really well known with another radio announcer. I've got his name, but all the old people remembers my granddad. I sort of remember him as young, but the stories he used to tell, the oratory, was just everyone just listening, just spellbound to what he was saying, and he used to have jokes, but linking it to history and jokes about Safoku. I won't say it online because I guess if you're from Safoku, you'll know the one. So from that, and then my mum's side, and then also my mum's a really good speaker. My dad's he's a preacher. He's a whewhiao, so I get to listen to him and mum. Well, usually my mum is the one that critiques. So, and then I listen, and then learning it, and then applying it to my own speaking. So that's the only way to learn, to apply it straight away. If you don't apply it, then you lost it. Yeah. Because you don't get feedback from the crowd. You can see them sleeping, or see them turn off their black screens, and on Zoom. So it's different strategies and just adapting to the audience and adapting to the market.
Yeah. I guess Gee, props to you, man, because I don't know how I'd probably react, I guess, in that stage when you have that many people. I don't know how many people are going to listen to this, bro, but this is a lot easier than actually looking out and just seeing a big, massive crowd. And I guess the nerves and that, like, you have any mechanisms for yourself when you're, I guess it's like kind of like thinking about when you're prepping for the games. Like, I don't know if you saw it as a big game, you know, you just prepped the normal way of prepping for the old games.
Yeah, it's interesting you said that, because it is like a game. Yeah, exactly. That's how I prepare. So let's say some people don't know the business side until they're in it. It's like telling someone who hasn't played rugby, tell them how do you prepare and play with. They wouldn't have a clue.
Yeah.
It's not until you're tackling, until you're scrumming, until you know what it really means, and sweating and getting punched and kicked, then you know what it feels like. And the speaking side was, you know, I had to walk, had to crawl. I'm still some ways crawl, but I'm walking slowly. I'm still making mistakes, but understanding that we all have different experiences, and not all Samoans are from South Auckland. People are shocked. Say, we grew up in Dunedin. What? Are there Samoans? Yeah, there's a couple of us down there. I can tell you all of them. Kind of on my hand now. So it's I take a lot of confidence from my background, and really being passionate about the speaking side, because it is providing a pathway to others if they can see I'm doing it, and then they'll come alongside, because naturally we're part of organizations, and we're usually ones that are speakers. But how do you take that and do it yourself? And create your own organization, create your own company, your own business. But that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to provide our people, because like rugby, like the Brian Williams, like the Michael Jones, going back to the first, Polynesian All Blacks, or the Manu Samoa, the 91 team, even the teams in the 70s, the Manu Samoa, when they toured New Zealand. We look at those things, look at those occasions as, or those history as something that our people have done already, and we want to achieve. So, a segue from that to come to my speaking world, how can people see it as an opportunity? It is for us, because we can be our own self. We can tell our island stories, because none of the people in the crowd would know what you're talking about. Well, probably if there's a couple of islanders in there, but it depends on the crowd.
Yeah.
But, we're quite unique in our stories, and we're not all the same. We've all got different lived experiences. But then the most important thing is, speaking is not about you. It's about them.
Yeah. Their story, bro.
It's them. It's them. So that's the big thing, changing my mindset into using, in my keynote speaking, if I'm using a keynote, I ask more questions of the crowd. So you're drawing them in. So if you're watching this, so how do you know Sione? Has Sione shouted you lunch yet? No. So you question them by you use more youisms. Okay, so rather than I, because once you talk about I, me, people just turn off their ears. So that's quite ironic, because we're talking about my story and and our relationship. But that's what I'm learning to do, get better at.
It's good to hear that. I guess you're paving the way, bro. Like not too many, like you say, that are in public speaking. I can think of that one guy, Pepe. Is it Pep?
Pepe, yeah. I've not heard him. Well. Yeah, he's another speaker. Yeah. I've not really heard him speak.
Oh, Pepe, if you're listening, bro, if you're listening to the podcast, you probably could jump in and hear your story, man. I guess, coming up in the future, I know you've dabbled into the book there, and probably that'd be a whole different experience for yourself, also.
I think writing this book, this book here, Tackle Your Success, that was a process. I think starting in around about 2020, when the first lockdown, that's when I started to sort of unpack a lot of some of my messaging in terms of my keynotes. So I used the TACKLE acronym in a 2018 keynote with the Northland Tanifas, and I thought, okay, this is cool. I'll use acronyms, because I like acronyms. They're easy to remember. So
too many of them too.
Too many of them. If you can remember TACKLE, not tackle. tackle. Just one T. And then, I use that because tackling is a process, but tackling life is a process as well. Tackling your success is personal as well as achieving something. So the book is about, helping those who have finished a career. But I targeted at athletes, at professional athletes, because it was personal. I went through a period of spiraling out of control. Within weeks, I was like, oh my goodness, what's happening? The four walls were just closing in on me. So I had to really reach out really fast, because when you start to spiral out and then you're out of control because there's no money coming in, there's no contracts, everyone's saying no, and some are saying, wait, but they're offering you, a lower fee contract, so you feel a bit undermined of the work you've done. So that's when you start to think, man, who's out there who can help me? And then I was blessed to have guys who were in the New Zealand Play Association. They reached out to me first. They said, let's have a coffee. So I met with them, went through that process, and they got me out of the room. Yeah. And that was within weeks of just being stuck. I was just stuck. Didn't know what to do next. 33, families there. How do you support my family? So it became quite a personal journey in that period. But also a personal journey to reflect in this book of what I went through, but also how I came out of it. And then, so that's the main thing. People don't want to hear a poor me story. Oh, that's sad. It's not really a sad story, because it was pretty much there was things that were in place. It could be a God. God put people in my life, angels in my life to move on and to help out. And my parents were praying for me as well, even though they didn't really understand what I was going through. Yeah. As athlete,
sport was always there.
Sport. Their love for sport was over there, but they can't take your pain away. You have to do it yourself. But then by being responsible and by being actually proactive and to reaching out, I could have did that quicker. But it's a personal. You got to go through that storm, because when people say, "Oh yeah, that was easy, cruisy, leaving sports." Yeah, really? Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. You're the man. But that's up to the individual if you want to share it, because I'm just talking from my experiences. But then I know through former athletes I've spoken to, and being part of the Manu Samoa All Boys Association, we get to help a lot of former Samoan boys to help them in life after sports, and being part of that with the angu'u, with Samoa at that context, which is powerful. Being involved with New Zealand Play Association over the years. So it was a personal journey, but to help others who are probably stuck and probably need some book that maybe can direct them and then get them out of it quickly, because you want to save time and make money because you want a job after you're finished. Yeah. Mm.
Well, nice, bro. I guess who would have ever thought that you would bring out a book,
I know.
and let alone on something that you sort of have passion on as well, defense coach.
Defense. That's right. You always give me a defense coach.
So, and we understand too, I guess, as rugby players too, the process of, we want to do the big tackle at the end, a dominant tackle, but we always forget that, from the beginning, start putting these little micro skills that will sort of give you that big goal at the end of making that dominant tackle. It's good to hear too that how with the parents coming over here that they allowed you to experience, because no doubt it was the same for them. They came over here, man. There's not probably some family, but really they had to try to discover a lot of things on their own. So, man, also an opportunity for yourself. I know may have been good, may have been bad, but I mean, in the end, you're still here, you're still breathing, bro. Yeah. This is the result of a lot of what you've done. So it's been awesome, man. Yeah,
there's most things that we give thanks to God and Heavenly Father for the blessings of my parents, and it's just a bit of a journey. Just give them, make them proud, and make my family proud. And so it's not easy to just write it, because you're putting down your heart and soul into the book. Yeah, so man, I don't want to reveal that. Oh no, I don't want to do that. But you start to think about how can I help one person that's out there that's struggling through a career change, or they've stopped, or they've been asked to leave an organization, or if they've been let go suddenly, if they've lost income. It is a book to help those who are looking for that step-by-step guide into some of the failures I went through, some of the successes, and the work I'm doing now with with the Rugby Business Club. So I did the Rugby Business Club, which is pretty much a bit of a give back to players who have finished rugby, to provide a platform for them to speak on their careers, but also the business or the work they're doing now. So I've been doing that for the last few years, and providing that platform for that, because we want to hear their stories. Because the more that we hear their stories, the more there's one person or two that are listening and say, "Wow, I want to get into business like that guy." Oh, okay, cool. How can I connect with that person? Because it is about relationships, eh?
Network's massive, man.
It is about relationships. So I guess if your fans want to go to, or your listeners want to go to the book, they just need to go to tackleyoursuccess.com.
Oh, nice. And probably, people stepping out their comfort zones, like a lot of our young'uns are coming through now, is, have a step out their leap of faith. As you say, right from the beginning of our Talanoa, that, God does provide, bro. Some of us aren't religious, and a lot of us, like, we're pretty much ministers' kids. Our Christian walk hasn't been perfect, but, bro, who are they to judge?
No one's perfect. No one's perfect, man. That's why we live by the grace of God, man.
Yeah, well, that's the one, bro. Awesome catching up with you, man. It was, I just wanted to get up. Looking forward to when this is getting launched. Wishing you all the best for the tackle your success. And probably, there's more what did I probably chat about, but maybe on another stage we can probably have a chat. But thank you very much, Mulitalo Filipo Levi.
No, thanks also. Thanks, Aogamalie. Remember your Makai. I was thinking of what's his Makai name?
That's all right, bro. It's always a hard one to pronounce, man.
So, also, thanks
any I guess, like, just anything, one thing probably just to encouragement for anyone that's listening out there, I guess. There's been so many, I guess, just for yourself, just anything you just wanted to finish off with.
Yeah, I think really important if you're going through the change, that there is a process. There's a process through it. So trust that process. It's a very sport analogy. Trust the process. And also that you're not by yourself. You're not alone.
Oh, nice. Well, once again, bro, good chatting to you. Oh, man, we done.
This one's for you and you and you. And you and you and you. This one's for you and you and you.
Da 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 da.